Born and raised on a humble farm in picturesque Oklahoma, Mary stood out amongst her 6 younger siblings. Life was simple, yet filled with hardships. Though a boisterous and energetic group, Mary had a fire in her spirit, a burning determination that made her unique. Her parents, Rose and Frank, were modest individuals who toiled from dawn till dusk amongst the cornfields and cattle pens. Rose, with her weathered hands and warm smile, always found time to care for her children and create a loving home, despite its simplicity. Frank, a man of few words but with actions that spoke volumes, dedicated himself to keeping the farm running and providing for his family. Their tireless efforts were not for themselves, but for their children. Rose and Frank dreamed of a future where their children wouldn't face the same hardships they did. Their hearts held a vision. They wanted their children to experience the bustling metropolis of New York City, a place brimming with opportunities. They dreamt of their children receiving quality education, pursuing fulfilling careers, and living prosperous lives that were beyond their own reach. This dream, nurtured in their hearts, became their driving force, fueling their work through long, hot days and cold nights. It was the promise of a better future for their children that lit up their tired faces at the end of each day. Mary, with her young wisdom, understood this. She grasped the love and sacrifice of her parents, and it only intensified the flame within her. Amidst the simplicity of her rural life, Mary discovered an unexpected passion. Daniel, the son of a wealthy local farmer, embodied forbidden desire. Heir to a fortune, he knew nothing of the toil in the fields or the value of hard-earned money. His eyes, as blue as the summer sky, and his smile, which made Mary's heart race, captivated her. Against all odds, Daniel fell in love with Mary. "Mary," he whispered one night, as they lay under the starlit Oklahoma sky, "you're like the sun. You shine so brightly that you illuminate everything around you. I love you, Mary." "And I love you, Daniel," Mary replied, her heart pounding. "But our families will never accept this." "Then let us stand united in this battle," remarked Daniel, grasping her hand firmly. "Together, we shall demonstrate that our love surpasses all prejudice." Thus they opted to embrace their love, a choice that resonated forcefully within their families. The revelation of their relationship sparked uproar. The eldest daughter of a working-class family from the countryside, and the son of the wealthiest farmer in the region, seemingly a tale lifted from a romantic novel, yet it was their reality. Despite familial disapproval and critical gazes from their community, Mary and Daniel stood unwavering. Their bond remained resilient, akin to an eternal flame, glowing brightly amid adversity. Love for them transcended convenience and societal norms. It dwelled within their hearts, a cause worth fighting for, unconditionally. The year Mary turned 18 coincided with a harsh drought that afflicted Oklahoma. The once lush cornfields faded into a dry brown expanse. Livestock grew gaunt, and water sources dwindled. Rose and Frank grappled with the trials of these times, etched with worry and fatigue. Mary, confronted with such hardships for the first time, carried a burden in her heart witnessing her parents' struggles. One day, observing Frank laboring to mend a broken fence under the unforgiving sun, Mary made a firm declaration. "Frank," she addressed her father with a resolve he had not witnessed before, "I am heading to New York City." Frank halted his work, gazing at Mary in astonishment. "What? Why?" "I wish to assist. I aim to provide you with a better life and realize the dream you hold for us, your children," Mary asserted, her voice resolute despite the tremors in her heart. Frank regarded Mary, his expression softening. He understood he couldn't deter her. Her determination mirrored his own stubbornness. "And what of Daniel?" he inquired, knowing that her choice implied leaving her beloved behind. Mary swallowed hard, a sharp ache piercing her heart at the thought of Daniel. "I must attempt to erase him from my thoughts," she revealed, a single tear tracing its path down her cheek. Thus, Mary made a life-altering decision. She resolved to journey to New York City, actualize her parents' aspirations, and endeavor to erase Daniel from her mind. Her familiar life stood on the brink of significant change, yet Mary faced it head-on, motivated by love for her parents and herself. Mary arrived in the vibrant New York City, her heart brimming with hope and her suitcase laden with dreams. The urban landscape dazzled with lights, sounds, and a bustling crowd, a stark contrast to the serene countryside of Oklahoma. Amidst the whirlwind, Mary found solace, a modest clothing store nestled in the heart of the Lower East Side. This establishment doubled as a workshop and boutique, where vibrant fabrics and innovative designs intertwined. The proprietor, Anne, an elderly lady with lively eyes and a kind smile, discerned something unique in Mary from their initial encounter. "You possess a flair for fashion," Anne observed, as she watched Mary peruse a fashion sketchbook. "Have you ever considered delving into the world of clothing?" Mary glanced at Anne, taken aback. "I've always admired clothes, though pursuing a career in it never crossed my mind." "Well, perhaps now is the time to contemplate it," Anne suggested with a grin. "I require an assistant in the store, and you seem to possess the right aptitude for it. What say you?" "I would be thrilled," Mary responded, her heart aflutter with anticipation. "But I lack a place to reside." Anne waved off the concern. "I have a modest room at the rear of the factory. It may not be extravagant, but it is neat and snug. You can stay there while you search for something more suitable." And so commenced Mary's new chapter in New York City. By day, she toiled in the store, and by night, she slumbered in the modest room at the factory's rear. It marked a humble beginning, yet for Mary, it was significant, her start in a new world she was determined to embrace. In the bustling metropolis of New York City, Mary immersed herself in the novel existence she had chosen. Throughout the day, she devoted her efforts to labor in Anne's store, aiding patrons, arranging shelves, and honing her skills in sewing. By night, she delved into her studies beneath the faint glow of the small room at the store's rear, surrounded by her array of fashion books. Initially, sewing posed a formidable challenge. Threads entangled, needles snapped, and fabrics resisted cooperation. Yet Mary remained resolute. Hours upon hours were spent perfecting her craft, her hands maneuvering with increasing finesse as each day unfolded. Slowly but surely, Mary developed an affection for her vocation. The metamorphosis of fabric into apparel held a mystical allure, and witnessing a design materialize ignited a sense of enchantment within her. Venturing into the realm of her own creations, she sketched ideas in a notebook she carried diligently. The inaugural moment, Mary beheld one of her creations gracing the store's window display. A surge of pride enveloped her. The garment, albeit simple, a timeless blue dress, was her masterpiece. From inception to execution, it bore her mark. And when a customer selected the dress, Mary sensed she had discovered her true calling. Gradually, Mary transcended her role as a mere salesperson or seamstress. She emerged as a visionary fashion designer, crafting distinctive pieces that mirrored her skill and ardor. The provincial dreamer who aspired to the urban sprawl had unearthed her niche in the realm of New York City's fashion, radiating bliss unparalleled. As the years elapsed and Mary solidified her standing in New York City's fashion domain, reminiscences of her family in Oklahoma remained an ever-present companion. Homesickness lingered persistently, and the triumphs Mary savored only kindled her longing to share her prosperity with her kin. One day, as Mary gazed at the towering skyscrapers of New York City, a resolve took root within her. Seizing the phone, she dialed the familiar number of the homestead in Oklahoma. "Hello, Mom, it's Mary," she announced, her voice quivering with anticipation. "I have a surprise for you and Dad." A handful of weeks later, Mary's parents and siblings descended upon JFK Airport, their gazes absorbing the city's whirlwind energy. Mary greeted them with tight embraces, tears of joy tracing down her cheeks. "Welcome to your new abode," Mary proclaimed, escorting them to the commodious apartment she had secured in Brooklyn. The living area exuded warmth. The bedrooms offered ample space, and the kitchen exuded modernity. It was a sanctuary Mary could scarcely have envisioned providing for her family during her days as a dreamy-eyed girl in Oklahoma. Mary's parents surveyed the scene in disbelief. "Mary," her mother uttered, her voice trembling with emotion, "did you orchestrate all of this?" Mary nodded, her heart brimming with gratitude. "Yes, Mom, and it's all thanks to you and Dad. You always believed in me, even when I lacked belief in myself. Now it's my turn to care for you." Thus, Mary realized a dream she once deemed unattainable, relocating her family to New York City and bestowing upon them a life beyond their wildest imaginations in Oklahoma. Acknowledging that challenges yet lay ahead, Mary drew strength from the presence of her kin, aware that with their support, she could overcome any obstacle. Years later, Mary found herself seated in a cozy cafe in Soho, leisurely enjoying a cappuccino as she perused a fashion tome. It was in this tranquil setting that she caught sight of him for the first time. Travis occupied a nearby table, engrossed in a newspaper, his countenance bearing a solemn air. Something about him evoked memories of Daniel, her initial love interest, prompting her gaze to linger. Upon meeting Mary's eyes, Travis responded with a warm smile, rising from his seat to approach her. "Apologies for the interruption," he began, extending his hand. "I'm Travis. I couldn't help but notice your interest and thought I'd come over to introduce myself." Blushing slightly, Mary accepted Travis's handshake. "I'm Mary," she replied. "Forgive my stare. You just reminded me of someone from my past." From that instant, they engaged in lengthy conversations, exchanging anecdotes, sharing laughter, and forging a deep, immediate connection. Soon after, they commenced dating, swiftly falling deeply in love. Their bond was fervent and profound, granting Mary a profound sense of gratitude for discovering someone who comprehended her on a profound level. At times, she contemplated whether Travis might be a reincarnation of Daniel, re-entering her life to assuage the void he had once left behind. United, Mary and Travis confronted life's vicissitudes, offering each other unwavering support in times of need. Although Mary cherished memories of Daniel, her initial love, she recognized that her heart now belonged to Travis, the man who cherished and comprehended her like no other. One chilly winter afternoon, While immersed in creating a new design within the studio, Anne, the proprietor of the store and workshop, entered with a solemn expression adorning her features. Approaching Mary, the older woman held a substantial envelope in her hands. "Mary," Anne commenced, her tone softer than usual, "I've been contemplating retirement. It's been numerous years in this trade, and truth be told, I believe it's time for me to relish life while I still can." Mary regarded Anne, taken aback. "But Anne, what will become of the store?" Offering a gentle smile, Anne presented the envelope to Mary. "That's precisely what I wanted to discuss with you. I am contemplating selling the store and workshop, and I wish to extend to you the primary opportunity to acquire them." Mary stood there, astounded. "Anne, I am at a loss for words." "You don't need to say anything right now," Anne responded. "Just think it over. I know you, Mary. You're talented, passionate, and most importantly, you have the heart for this. I believe you are the perfect person to continue the legacy of this store." With Travis's encouragement, Mary chose to accept Anne's offer. It was a unique opportunity, and she understood that passing it up might be something she'd regret for the rest of her life. Shortly after finalizing the agreement with Anne, Mary and Travis announced their engagement. It was a moment of celebration and joy, ushering in a new chapter that promised even more success and happiness in Mary's life. On a spring morning, Mary received a life-altering news. Her brother called, his voice shaky and filled with sorrow, delivering the devastating reality. Their beloved mother, Rose, had passed away. A wave of grief washed over Mary, a sharp, intense pain piercing her heart like a knife. The family mourned the loss of their matriarch, sending ripples of sorrow through all their lives. Amidst her grief, Mary recalled her mother's tender and hopeful words. "I want to see you happy, Mary. I want to see you married and loved." Despite the overwhelming sadness, Mary knew she had to honor her mother's wish. So, on a beautiful autumn afternoon, Mary walked down the aisle in a gown she had designed herself, with Travis waiting for her, tears in his eyes. The ceremony was touching and beautiful. An empty chair in the front row, with a single red rose on the seat, symbolized Rose's presence. Mary missed her mother deeply, but in her heart, she knew Rose was there, watching over and blessing her union with Travis. The wedding reflected Mary in many ways. It was full of love, resilience, and a quiet strength that spoke volumes. Even amidst sorrow, she found reasons to celebrate, to love, and to move forward, just as her mother would have wanted. A few months after Mary's wedding, another storm hit the family. Frank, Mary's kind and diligent father, passed away. It seemed a part of him had left with Rose, and he couldn't endure the pain of living without her. Mary received the news from one of her brothers, his voice trembling on the other end of the line. "Mary, it's Dad. He's gone." The words struck Mary like a punch in the gut, leaving her breathless. The passing of Frank had a profound impact on everyone involved. The family gathered once more, this time to bid farewell to their patriarch. Despite the overwhelming sadness that enveloped them, they found solace in reminiscing about Frank, his contagious laughter, and the unwavering love he showered upon them. During the funeral service, Mary approached her father's casket, her eyes welling up with tears. In a hushed tone, meant for him alone, she whispered, "Dad, I miss you greatly, but I promise to carry on. I will make you and Mom proud. I love you." Losing both of her parents, within such a short span of time was an almost unbearable anguish for Mary. However, amidst the grief, she discovered strength in her memories and the vow she made to her father to persevere not only for herself, but for the sake of Rose and Frank as well. Even amidst the sorrow of her parents' absence, Mary persisted. She immersed herself in her work, channeling her pain into unparalleled inspiration. The modest clothing store flourished and transformed into a prestigious brand, with Mary establishing herself as a renowned fashion designer nationwide. Travis, her unwavering support, stood faithfully by her side, assisting her in the business endeavors and providing her with the necessary space to create. United, they forged a life of opulence, residing in a magnificent Manhattan residence surrounded by everything they could desire. Amidst their resounding success, they were blessed with two precious gifts: their son, Evan, and their daughter, Belle. Evan, with his captivating blue eyes and mischievous grin, and Belle, with her cascading golden curls and contagious laughter. Mary and Travis wholeheartedly dedicated themselves to offering their children the opportunities they themselves had never experienced: a quality education, comfort, and above all, unconditional love. Unfortunately, as time passed, the privileges afforded to Evan and Belle began to have a negative impact. Surrounded by opulence and comfort, from an early age, the siblings gradually became entitled and spoiled. Despite having everything they could desire, they seemed to lack the appreciation that Mary and Travis had hoped to instill in them. "I just wish they understood the true value of things," Mary confided in Travis one evening, observing their children playing in the living room with expensive toys. Travis embraced her, offering solace. "They're still young, Mary. There's still time for them to learn." Mary nodded, but deep down, she couldn't shake off her worries. She wondered if, in their efforts to provide their children with everything they themselves had never had, they inadvertently deprived them of something far more profound: an understanding of the intrinsic worth of things. Time continued to pass, and life unfolded with its natural course. However, on a cold winter morning, Mary received devastating news. Travis, her cherished husband, had tragically lost his life in an accident while on a business trip to a neighboring city. The news also shattered Evan, now 22, and Belle, 19. They were overwhelmed by sorrow and confusion, and in the midst of their tumultuous emotions, they directed their anger towards Mary. "This is all your fault, Mom," Evan accused, his face contorted with a mix of anger and pain. "Dad never had a life of his own. He was always trapped in your business." Belle, though younger, echoed her brother's sentiment. "Evan's right. Dad could have pursued his own dreams, but he dedicated his life to supporting you. He deserved more." Mary, still grappling with the loss of her husband, was rendered speechless. The accusations felt unjust. Travis had willingly immersed himself in the family business out of love, never out of a sense of obligation. "You're mistaken," Mary finally managed to utter, her voice trembling with emotion. "Your father loved what he did. He never felt trapped or unhappy. It was his choice." However, her words fell on deaf ears. Evan and Belle, consumed by grief and searching for someone to blame, turned against Mary. They distanced themselves from their mother, further exacerbating her anguish. Not only had she lost the love of her life, but now she was also losing her children. 20 years had elapsed since the tragic accident that claimed the life of Travis, and the once harmonious family that Mary cherished had become a distant memory. Once a vibrant matriarch, Mary now found herself as a solitary widow. Her heart, once filled with joy and love, now felt empty, occupied solely by the ceaseless work she tirelessly engaged in. Her children, Evan and Belle, lived separate lives, showing little interest in sharing special moments with Mary, such as weddings or the arrival of eagerly anticipated grandchildren. Nevertheless, Mary maintained a connection with them by sending a generous portion of her store's profits each month. However, amidst the darkness that overshadowed her life, a single ray of light penetrated through. Catherine, Evan's eldest daughter, paid weekly visits to Mary. Unlike her parents, the girl possessed a kind and compassionate soul. She held Mary in high esteem, seeing her as a source of inspiration. Choosing to disregard the hurtful words and actions of Evan and Belle. Despite her advanced age, Mary enjoyed robust health and regularly underwent checkups to ensure her continued strength. On one of her hospital visits, she noticed something peculiar. The familiar faces of the welcoming medical staff had been replaced, yet Mary, with her understanding nature, did not pay it much heed. On a day that promised its customary tranquility, Mary's routine was abruptly disrupted. Without prior notice, Evan and Belle appeared at her doorstep, forced smiles on their faces that seemed as artificial as they were unexpected. Startled by their sudden visit, Mary barely had time to formulate a greeting. "Good morning, Mother," Evan began, his voice inexplicably formal. "Belle and I decided to surprise you with a visit." Mary, still taken aback by their presence, managed to weakly respond, "Oh, what a surprise, my dears. It wasn't necessary." Before she could inquire about the reason for their visit, the door swung open once again, revealing a team of nurses dressed in pristine white uniforms. They moved with an unsettling efficiency, gathering Mary's personal belongings and preparing her for an unknown journey. "What is happening? Where are we going?" Mary asked, her confusion growing more pronounced on her face. Belle, maintaining her forced smile, responded, "Mom, we believe it would be best for you to relocate to a place where you can receive specialized care. A psychiatric hospital nestled in the mountains. It's a picturesque location, and we're sure you'll enjoy it." However, the truth was far from what they portrayed. They were actually taking her to a remote and secluded facility hidden in the heart of the mountains, far away from prying eyes. It was a place where Mary would have little opportunity to question or resist her children's act of betrayal. Evan and Belle had cunningly devised a plan. By bribing doctors on the newly appointed hospital team and the hospital director, they orchestrated Mary's admission into the psychiatric facility without her knowledge or consent. In doing so, they assumed control over all her assets, while Mary, betrayed by her own children, was forcibly separated from everything she held dear. 2 arduous months had passed since Mary had been confined to that cold and impersonal psychiatric hospital, a stark contrast to the warm and welcoming home she had once known. However, that morning brought a glimmer of change to the monotonous routine. Catherine, her granddaughter known for her rebellious spirit, unexpectedly appeared, bringing with her a storm of fury. "Grandma, I can't believe what Dad and Aunt Belle have done to you. It's outrageous!" Catherine exclaimed, her words pouring out unrestrained. Mary, those who shared Catherine's righteous indignation, calmed her. "My dear, we must stay composed. Let us not allow anger to cloud our judgment." Mid-conversation, the door swung open, revealing Evan and Belle. They had discovered Catherine's escape and were filled with rage. "Catherine, how dare you defy us and come here?" Belle hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "You have no right to keep her here against her will." "You have no right to keep her here against her will," Catherine retorted, her voice emboldened by defiance. Evan approached Catherine with hostile intent, but Mary quickly stepped in. "Evan, Belle, you're too late. Catherine and I have already made our decision on what to do." The expressions of surprise on Evan and Belle's faces were indescribable. However, Mary and Catherine had already outsmarted them. They refused to let injustice prevail any longer. Despite their apparent vulnerability, Mary and Catherine had meticulously prepared their defense. Catherine, possessing the cunning and intelligence of her grandmother, had intercepted a revealing conversation between her father and aunt, which laid bare their sinister plan for guardianship. The recorded conversation served as the undeniable evidence they needed to expose the deceitful scheme. Just as Evan and Belle entered the room, the previously silent television suddenly sprang to life. Familiar voices reverberated through the hospital speakers, filling the space with undeniable clarity. It was the audio recording of that incriminating conversation, the definitive proof of Evan and Belle's treachery. "Imagine, Belle, once Mary is deemed unfit, her entire empire will be ours," Evan's voice echoed through the speakers, followed by Belle's complicit laughter. One by one, additional audio clips featuring doctors, directors, and nurses played, further confirming the elaborate scheme and exposing the siblings' orchestrated bribes. The color drained from their faces as they heard their own words broadcasted for all to hear. Desperately, they looked around, searching for an escape route, but the trap had already been sprung. The door swung open once more, revealing the imposing figures of two police officers. "Evan and Belle Johnson," one of them addressed, consulting a sheet of paper in his hand. "You are under arrest for conspiracy and attempted fraud." Silence enveloped the room, broken only by Belle's anguished sobs and Evan's futile protests. Finally, Mary and Catherine could breathe a collective sigh of relief. Justice had been served. As Mary observed her children in handcuffs, a sharp pang pierced her heart. The scene was undeniably heart-wrenching, but it was a necessary consequence. Evan and Belle needed to learn a lesson, and sometimes the most impactful lessons are the harshest. Stepping forward, her gaze blending profound sadness with the unwavering determination of a warrior, she spoke, "I have loved you since the moment you were born, and I will always love you. But my love for you does not blind me to your flaws. This was a lesson you needed to learn, and I sincerely hope it leaves a lasting impact on you." Mary's incredible journey, which spanned from a modest farm in Oklahoma to the dazzling lights of New York City, unfolded like an epic saga. Her tale was woven with threads of love and betrayal, interspersed with towering triumphs and shattering defeats. Along the way, she demonstrated to the world that even in the face of the most daunting challenges, the power to resist and overcome resides within us. Mary, the small-town girl who rose to become a renowned fashion designer, transcended mere fame to become a symbol of resilience and unwavering determination. With her granddaughter and protege, Catherine, by her side, Mary's story was poised to continue. Despite the adversities that befell her, Mary never lost sight of the future, and it was this indomitable spirit that proved to be her greatest strength. We trust you found the story engaging. Remember to give it a thumbs up and share your reflections in the comments. Stay tuned for the next video.